So the earthworms are mostly important for the preparing the vermicompost, and the, the soil health improves the habitat soil conditions for their diversity of the earthworms and other microorganisms. Soil quality depends on the or governs by the biological, chemical, and physical characteristics of the soil, and it directly uh, relate to the soil productivity, or it directly affects on the soil productivity. When soil quality and soil health is best, then the soil productivity also high, and it impacts on the produced quality of the food and environmental quality and ultimate the health of the living beings. It depends on the ultimate soil quality and soil health, because the plants are by magnifying and by accumulating the different pollutants from absorbed from the soils, and it is uh, very dangerous because of they contaminate food materials which are developed, and it is very hazardous to the human beings while the consuming such foods. So that the soil health is very important for the production of quality food materials also. How the soil health affects on the different processes of the soils, that is the root proliferation. The soil physical parameters are impacting on the growth of the roots of plant species. Soil aeration, water retention and infiltration, and transmission of different nutrients in the soil and from soil to the plants. It prevents soil erosion by binding the soil particles. And chemical properties such as the nutrient retention in the soil and release, and after release the uptake of these nutrients by the plants. Soil pH, it is very important chemical soil property, because it affects the availability of the different nutrients which are available in soil, but due to the very low soil pH and very high soil pH, it enables to uptake different nutrients by the plants. So that the soil pH is very important chemical uh, soil property. Soil energy, that is the soil carbon, it is very important because it provides the energy to the soil microorganisms, which uh, improves the soil quality and soil health. And toxicity prevention, soil health, uh, it prevents the toxicity of different nutrients. When the concentration of nutrients increases in the soil, it serve as a toxic materials, and it impacts on the uh, growing of the plants, and after growing and their production when consumed by the animals and human beings, it is also dangerous to these animals and living beings. Then biological properties such as the pest suppression, nitrogen mineralization, organic matter decomposition, and habitat protection are the most important biological properties and affects these effects on the soil health. These are the some indicators, biological indicators, chemical indicators, and physical indicators, or the properties of the soils which governs the soil health, or which build up the soil health. In biological properties, the microbial biomass, microbial nitrogen, these are the some indicators which should be considered while the studying soil health. These are the some soil indicators and their direct relation to the soil condition and their functioning. Physical indicators involves the soil texture, soil depth, topsoil, and the rooting of the plants, infiltration and bulk density. Bulk density directly relate to the infiltration of the water and soil moisture into the soil. Where the infiltration rate is high in the soil, the water table level also improves at that place, and it improves the mm, growth of the plants. And where bulk density were high, then the compaction of the soil is high there. While the planting of the trees, it when adding leaf litter to the soils, leaf litter after adding it decomposed by the soil microorganisms, and nutrients are released in the soil, and after the decomposition organic matter is added to the soils, then it improves or lower down the soil bulk density and improves the soil health. And when improving the soil bulk density, infiltration rate is increased in the soil, and the soil erosion reduces at that place. And such as the soil holding water holding capacity also increased where the bulk density is low. The chemical properties such as the organic carbon, nitrogen, soil pH, EC are also important and directly related to the soil nutrient cycling in the soil, water relations, and the buffering capacity of the soil, such as buffering capacity means the soil pH. When the leaf litter having the organic chemicals, uh, which having the low pH, after the decomposition of these leaf litter, it added to the soils and lower down the soil pH. It is very important process uh, in the reclamation of the saline and alkaline soils. It reduces the soil pH, and it improves the soil health. And the biological properties or indicators are the microbial biomass, carbon and nitrogen, mineralizable nitrogen, soil respiration, water content, and temperature. When the soil moisture improves in the soil, it maintains the soil temperature also. And when soil temperature improves, the soil microbes and their biomass and their diversity also improves in the soil. When the diversity of the microbes improves, then soil respiration improves in the soils. Then the soil degradation. What are the major factors or major causes of the soil degradation which affects on the soil health? Soil degradation, it refers to the decline in soil's productivity or deteriorate the soil physical, chemical, and biological properties which affects the productivity of the soils. Ultimately, it deteriorates the soil health. In these pictures describes the deterioration of the soils. Some of the natural factors affect the soil degradation, such as the uh, high rainfall in short time of periods. It erodes the soil badly, and human made factors such as the burning of the fields after the harvesting of the cereal crops, uh, much of the straws left over the field uh, due to the low budget and different factors of the farmers, they goes for the burning of the straw, and it mm, deteriorate the soil health, because the burning it uh, reduces the microbial population, which mostly important for the decomposition of the organic matter which left on the soil surface after the harvesting of such crops and plants. These are some causes of the soil health deterioration. Population pressure due to the increase in human population as well as the animal population, demands for the uh, food grains and feed for the animals is increasing day by day, and due for the meeting uh, such demands, the people goes for the intensive agriculture and deforestation for increasing the agricultural land area, because we have only 29 million hectare areas, and the population is steadily increased. We have to increase the food grain production as well as the fodder production for the animals, so that these intensive agriculture activities are carried out. And due to intensive agriculture activities, we deteriorate the soil and soil health. The changing land use pattern, it is also the result of the intensive agriculture. Most of the farmers go for the uh, such land use patterns or the cash crops for the mm, gaining more benefits. Overgrazing, most of the grazed lands are overgrazed uh, due to the increased livestock population. Agricultural related activities such as the intensive soil operations, it deteriorate the soil health. So that's why we are recommending the zero tillage operations for conserving the soil moisture, and uh, the when stubbles are in the crop stubbles are in the field, they after their decomposition, it added to the soil and improves the soil nutrients, and ultimately the soil health improves. uh, the use of insecticide, pesticides, and fertilizers in high quantity, it deteriorates the soil health also, and it also pollute the water of the natural streams when the uh, while high rainfalls, it runoff from the crop fields, it carry out the stresses of the insecticide, pesticide, fertilizers, and it deteriorate the uh, natural water streams, and it ultimately pollute our water bodies, and it affects on the ultimate effects on the human health also. Over exploitation of the vegetation for the domestic purposes, uh, for the construction of houses, then preparing furnitures from the wooden materials. We uh, cut the natural vegetations for that purpose, and it ultimately affects the environment, and lastly it affects on the soil health also. These are the different agencies estimated the amount of degraded land areas in our countries. And recently, National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning, which is situated in Nagpur, their revised data, according to their revised data, 146.82 million hectare area is under the such categories of the degraded lands. Water eroded, it includes the loss of topsoils and terrain deformations, wind erosion, uh, chemical deteriorations such as the saline alkaline soils and acidic soils, and physical deterioration such as the waterlogging conditions, and other such as the ice caps, rocks, uh, and arid mountains, etc. And this area has potential to grow the food and fodder materials or feed materials for the animals also. But directly we cannot grow the agriculture crops there. That's why we can uh, go for the agroforestry systems at such areas for the improvement of the soil health, because tree species have the deep root systems, and when the leaf litters or fall on the soil surface after the decomposition of the leaf litter, it adds to the soil, and it improves the soil aeration as well as the nutrient concentration in the soils, and it improved soil quality and soil health. After the improvement of the soil health, we can go for the cultivation of the such fodder agriculture fodder crops, as well as the agriculture food grain crops such as the cereals, pulses, and oil crops also. According to the Anvis Center, uh, they categorize the wastelands of the India, our country, and it includes the snow-covered glaciers, barren rock sheets, sands is land mostly covered in Rajasthan and Haryana of states. Land affected by the salinity alkalinity. It is also mostly covered in the Punjab, Haryana areas, gullied and ravenous lands, uplands or without scrubs, uh, waterlogged and marshy lands where the water stagnant areas where water stagnant for the short period or long period also. Steep sloping areas, shifting cultivation lands. Shifting cultivation, it is covered extremely in the northeastern Indian part. In mining and industrial wasteland, degraded pasture and grazing lands, and it calculated the uh, 6,38,518.31 square kilometer area under these different categories of the wastelands. Uh, these are the physical constraints. Dr. Chaudhary in 2016 reported these are the some physical constraints of the soils, and they are main affected states in the country. Shallow depth, where the depth of the soil is very low, and it covers the 26.40 million hectare area and affected states Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Kerala, and Gujarat. Soil hardening means soil becomes harder. Its bulk density is very high, and 21.57 million hectare area is affected by this uh, physical constraint. And Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Bihar are the main affected states. High permeability means the uh, sandy areas where the sand portion of the textural of the soil is high. The 13.75 million hectare area is covered by the high permeability lands, and it mostly affects the Rajasthan, West Bengal, Gujarat, Punjab, and Tamil Nadu states. Surface hard pan. It is formed due to the most of the agricultural practices, such as the in rice grown areas, they puddle the rice fields. Due to the puddling, the subsurface soil horizon or layer that horizon, the soil becomes harder, and it known as the hard pan. And the area covered is 11.31 million hectare areas, and these are the states are mainly affected. And the temporary waterlogging 6.24 million hectare area, and Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Punjab, Gujarat, Kerala, and Odisha are these states affected by this. Then we discussed the agroforestry, why the tree species are planting, and how they are improve the soil health. So that we want to know what is agroforestry. When we are talking about the agroforestry, it is a collective name for the land use systems, and technology is also involved, where the woody perennials such as the tree species, shrubs, palms, and bamboo also includes in the woody perennials are deliberately used on the same land management unit. Means एक ही लैंड यूनिट पे हमने ट्री स्पेसीज भी लगाने हैं, एग्रीकल्चर क्रॉप एंड फॉर प्रोडक्शन फॉर द एनिमल रेयरिंग्स. It's known as the, and their arrangement should be spatial and temporal arrangement. The spatial means there should be uh, dividation by the space for these components of the agroforestry, such as the tree species, then agriculture crops. Their spatial arrangement is there, and temporal means the time oriented arrangement or sequence is there. In such agroforestry systems, there should be ecological and economic interaction between these different components. Ecological interactions means the uptake of nutrients from the soil. There should be a uh, competition. There is a negative interaction between tree species and agriculture crops here. It is an ecological interaction. And economical, when the tree species growing there uh, due to the shade and competition for the nutrients, tree species affects the uh, yield of the agriculture crop species, and while reducing their growth, it affects the monetary returns from these crops. It is a negative interaction. And in case of the positive interaction, when the tree species are fall the leaf litter on the soils after their decomposition, they release the nutrients into the soil, and it improves the soil health. Eh, While improving soil health, it better for the annual and seasonal agricultural crops. It improves their growth, and ultimately and finally it improves the production of the agricultural crops, and it improves monetary returns. And the definition of the agroforestry system involves main four factor main 4 points also there. It should be involved two and more species of the plant. There should be two or more species in agroforestry system, and at least one should be woody perennial species. An agroforest system always has two or more outputs, multiple outputs. For example, when growing the tree species, we can produce the wood material and fodder material from the tree species, and from growing from the agricultural crops, food material obtained from the this agriculture, and fodder also obtained from the agriculture crops. Means the it has two or more outputs from the system. The cycle of agroforest system is always more than 1 year, while the growing of perennial tree species, its cycle always more than the 1 year. Even the simplest agroforest system is more complex ecologically, because their structure and function, it is complex system, and economically than the monocropping system. As compared to the monocropping, it is complex system. What are the main benefits of the agroforest system? It increased crop production and economic gain. It improves the soil quality and health, and also conserve the soils uh, after uh, arresting the soil erosion. uh, s- Sequestration of the atmospheric carbon, it sequestrates the carbon uh, and store in the soil, store and store in the uh, vegetative parts of the tree species also, and annual crops also. And after their addition in carbon addition into the soil, it improves the organic carbon in the soil. In the uh, added carbon in the soil, it affects as a energy to the microorganisms which are active in the soils, which improve the soil health and soil quality. uh, the agroforest system also increase the biodiversity, soil biodiversity, as well as the plant diversity, vegetative diversity, and the insect and bird diversity also improves in the agroforestry systems. These are the some processes which influence the soil physical, chemical, and biological properties which improve the soil health. Adding more organic matter to the soil, carbon sequestration, increased nutrient input through biomass addition and their decomposition, biological nitrogen fixation, efficient nutrient cycling, improve microclimate where the agroforestry system placed, reduce soil erosion, reduces evaporation and leaching losses which are occurred in the uh, during the erosion of the soils. It affects or it influences the soil physical, biological, and chemical properties, and ultimately improves the soil health. According to the Powdell and his co-worker in 2012, it reported that the in subsurface soil and surface soil, uh, agroforestry buffer and uh, grazed pastures, it has the water stable aggregates which improves the water holding capacity and improves the soil health. In agroforestry buffers and grazed uh, pasture buffers and mm, grass buffers, sorry, grass buffers and agroforestry buffers, because they bind the soil particles there and improve the soil health. Soil bulk density. Already I discussed about the soil bulk density. It improves the uh, plant rooting depth, soil water holding capacity, soil porosity, water infiltration rate, and soil biochemical properties also influenced, and it lastly affects on the productivity of the soil. When bulk density decreased under high density of the uh, plant species, or especially the popular species uh, reported uh, in 2014, while the spacing is very closer spacing, then the leaf litter addition rate is high in that place, and it uh, reduces or decrease the uh, bulk density and improves the soil health. Slighter higher bulk density was reported by Devi et al. In 2013 in plantations as compared to the natural forest, due to the lower soil organic carbon in plantations. Due to plantations are managed ecosystem, as compared to the natural forest. The natural forest added more leaf litter in the soils as compared to the plantations. So the natural forest has lower bulk density as compared to the plantations. And addition of the soil organic carbon, or the addition of carbon in the soils. Uh, this is the cycle of soil organic carbon. It is a carbon dioxide in a atmosphere. During the photosynthesis, it sequestrated in the plant and stored in the plant. Uh, it is known as the plant carbon. After the leaf litter and its harvesting, it falls on the soil surface leaf litter. Then after its decomposition, it adds to the soil organic carbon and it added to the soil. And after the feeding or directly feeding by the animals of the leaf fodder, it stored in the animal body, and it known as the animal carbon. After their death and after the uh, falling dungs and other excreta of the animals, it also added to the soils, and it stored in the soil organic carbon. And also their respiratory system of the animals, it also added and release into the atmosphere. And after the decomposition of the organic matter and it and the respiration of the microbes and arthropods, it also released ultimately released into the atmosphere. It is a cycle of the carbon, and it completes due to the plant materials and the perennial tree species which are planted on the agroforestry systems. And as compared to the agricultural systems, uh, it added more organic carbon to the soil as compared to the other agricultural systems. Soil pH and uh, CEC, cation exchange capacity. As I said earlier, the organic chemicals, while added to the soil during the decomposition of the leaf litter, it reduces the soil pH, and also it affects the soil health. Most of the nutrients depends on the soil pH, and as their soil pH is lower and higher, it affects to the uh, uptake of the soil nutrients. These are some tree species are important for growing at the high soil pH. Prosopis juliflora, Acacia nilotica, commonly it is known as the bubble, and Casuarina. These are some species can be grown on the extremely high soil pH, and it improves the such soils and improves the soil health ultimately. These are the tree species which are the uh, tolerate and sensitive to the soil EC and reclaim such soils and improve the soil health. These are the some multi-purpose tree species. It can improve soil health. Uh, these are the nitrogen cycle by the leguminous tree species in agroforestry. Leguminous tree species improve the soil health by atmospheric nitrogen fixation. Uh, it involves the nit nitrifying. These are the some processes involved in this cycle, and after the completion of these processes, it sequester and fix the atmospheric nitrogen and ultimately add to the soil. and after adding to the soils, it can be absorbable to the annual crops also, and ultimately it improves the soil health. These are the some chemicals or concentrations in leaf litter of the multi-purpose tree species. In case of the nitrogen percentage, it is higher in Prosopis cinerea species. It is a leguminosae. Mm, these are the four tree species, and all are the uh, belongs to the leguminosae family. As compared to these three species, Prosopis has the higher concentration of nitrogen in their leaves. Uh, when the CN ratio, it is very important for the decomposition of the leaf litter. Where the CN ratio is high, then the decomposition rate is slow. When the CN ratio is high, then decomposition rate is slow. Where the comparison of these four tree species, the low CN ratio is in the Prosopis cinerea, commonly known as a Khejri plant, Khejri tree species. It has the lower CN ratio, and the decomposition rate of their leaf litter is very high as compared to the other species. These are the some important nitrogen fixing tree species, and the amount of nitrogen fixed uh, uh, based on and the with the help of the strains of the microorganisms such as the rhizobia, bradyrhizobium, and frankia. Uh, these are the some tree species fix the atmospheric nitrogen and helps to improve the soil health. These are also some tree species. And next one is a nutrient pumping. It is very important aspect because the tree species having a deep root system as well as the spray. Some tree species having the spreading root system also. That's why when the leached nutrients go into the deeper soil layers, due to the having deep root system, tree species can absorb the such leached soil nutrients, and it bring back into the soil surface and make available to the other annual crops. So it is very important aspect, nutrient pumping for the improving soil health. These are the some tree species and their root length, main root and some lateral and fibrous root systems. In case of these species, the Prosopis cinerea has the deepest root system. 288 centimeter length is of the main roots, and also the uh, 271 centimeter length for the Populus deltoides. It is a common tree species cultivated in Punjab and Haryana states. Its root system is a fibrous and spreading root system of that tree species. Total bacterial response to the soil microbial community in as compared to the agroforestry, grass and vegetative filter strips and croplands. The agroforestry have the highest values for the total bacterial responses in the soils of that particular systems. Agroforestry have the significant difference as compared to the cropland. In case of the agroforestry buffers, grass buffer and control, uh, in case of the gram negative bacteria and anaerobic bacteria are have the highest microbial responses in the agroforestry buffers, while the mycorrhizae and protozoa microbial groups, uh, it has the higher values of the microbial responses in grass buffers as compared to the agroforestry. Soil microbial biomass, carbon, and the various multi-purpose tree species. These are the some. And Ulmus nephalensis, which is a leguminous species, and with the stem Frankia, it fix the atmospheric nitrogen, and microbial biomass carbon is higher in such agroforest systems having the tree species as a Ulmus nephalensis. Especially it is growing in a North Indian states. In situ retention of rainfall under different land use systems. It affects when the annual rainfall retains at high rate, it reduces the soil surface erosion, and it affects uh, and it build the health of the soil uh, while the uh, reducing the soil erosion. The agriculture fodder system, contour bund and plus bench terrace system, 98.53 to 99.77% rainfall is retained in such uh, systems. In case of the agroforestry, trees plus crop plus herb or grasses, it 96 to 99.5% retain the annual rainfalls. Means the when we grow the vegetative plants on the contour terraces and in bunds of the agricultural fields, it improves the water retention capacity of the soil and also the annual rainfall retention at that system uh, by arresting the soil erosion or reducing the soil erosion processes. So thank you. These are the some uh, processes and the some systems I describes and give the context of the agroforestry for the improvement of the health. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Now
you.
the session is open for question. If anyone has question, they can ask in chat box. Hello, sir. Somnath, sir.
Hello.
Uh, there is some question for you.
Okay. Please,
Narendra
please read.
Chauhan, sir, asking,
Hmm?
it is very informative session. And
Oh,
what is the properties of calcareous soil to improve?
what is the properties of calcareous soils to improve?
Yes. How can we
Uh,
improve the calcareous?
Calcareous soils, most of the grass species recommended for such degraded soils, which improves the calcareous soils, because calcareous soils having the calcium percentage high in such soils. Some of the grass species, generally grass species, are recommended for the such soils.
Okay, sir.
Oh.
Sir, I want to ask
Mhm.
some important agroforestry tree species which are suitable for increasing soil health.
Mostly the leguminous tree species, such as the Dalbergia species, having and the tree species having the leaf litter leaves smaller and the compound
Yes, sir.
leaf systems. These are the tree species mostly used for the agroforestry for improving the soil health. Mostly the leguminous tree species.
Mostly leguminous trees. Okay, sir.
Yes.
Vipin Sahu want to ask difference between the soil health and soil quality.
Uh, I already explained the soil health is a wider term and generally used for the managed ecosystems. And the soil quality, it is a used for the managed as well as the natural systems. Soil quality.
Okay, sir. Vinod Prajapat want to ask what is EC and its role in nutrient absorption.
What is EC and
Its role
acha,
in nutrient absorption.
electrical conductivity?
Conductivity. Yes.
Yes, and cation exchange capacity is another one property of the soils. Uh, EC, electrical conductivity, also it affects on the uptake of the soil nutrients. When the soil EC disturbs, it affects on the uptake of the available soil nutrients. When the soil nutrients are available in the soils, but due to the disturbances in the soil EC, it cannot be uptake by the plant species. That's why it is very important, and we have to improve such soil properties for uh, uptake of the nutrients and improve the productivity of the soil.
There is too much questions for you, sir, but our time limit is uh, we conserve more time. So I would like to invite Dr. K. N. Guru Prasad sir for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Anand Salve. Uh, it was very informative lecture, and I thank the guest speaker, Dr. Somnath Sarvade, for a very informative lecture on the benefits of agroforestry for maintaining soil health. As all the agricultural scientists and students of agricultural science understand, the first need for any successful agriculture is the health of the soil. And we need to take all precautions and also all the methods that can improve the health of the soil. And agroforestry is one of those methods which naturally improves the quality and health of the soil. Now, without any additions of artificial chemicals or any other factors. So I think this is also a good method for organic culture. These days, many agricultural practices are going organic, and I believe agroforestry is one of the best methods to improve the quality of the soil through uh, organic approach. And I thank Dr. Sarvade once again for a very informative talk. In the COVID times, we can only have webinars and on the virtual platforms, and we hope we will get these scientists also to indoor sometime when the things improve. And I also suggest Dr. Anand Salve whether we can also have at least one demonstrative agroforestry in our campus
Yes, yes,
to um,
we will.
to demonstrate to our students. Thank you very much, and I also thank Professor Vinod Dhar for
Thank
inviting me for this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarvade sir, for this important lecture. The information which you are provide to us, it is very beneficial for us. Thank you, sir.
thank you. Thank you.
Feedback link will be sent on your registered email address and WhatsApp group. You will get your e-certificate of webinar after filling the feedback form automatically. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.